What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are here to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, of course, but not just the Baltimore Ravens in general, more specifically OTAs. All the drama that comes with guys running around in shorts and T-shirts, just like we did in middle school and gym class, all the stuff we had to pontificate about. Excited to talk about it. Excited to overanalyze a little bit of it, speculate on all of it, and to get your guys' thoughts and comments as well. So let's get right into it. But before we do, Glenn, let everyone know what your thoughts were today on all things OTAs.
Yeah, I was excited. I mean, I anytime there's signs of football getting closer, it kind of, gets me pumped up. So I was excited to see the guys out in the field. Excited to get the tricklings of information coming out from all the various social media. I mean, members of the media that are spreading the word on social media, telling us about who's there, who isn't, who looks good, who's struggling, any different changes with the new coaches and coaching staff. Excited to hear any news about the Ravens. There is no offseason when it comes to football, and so excited to hear some on-the-field news. Now, of course, we have to start with the place everyone's starting at. Lamar Jackson was a no-show at the camp.
Everyone asked. And you know what, Glenn? Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I'm going to give us some credit on all the media members asking questions, because we were putting the bug in their ear yesterday via Twitter about what was going on. And so they said, you know what? 410 Sports Talk knows what they're talking about, so we better ask the questions. They were just our mouthpiece.
Yeah, that's what it was. Well, they are the mouthpiece of the fan, and we are the fan. We are fans. So
we're just the intermediary between them and the fans, because we're just fans.
Yeah, I think
and
we just
happen to have a platform.
There we go. We'll take it. But yeah, I mean, so no surprise he's not there. He did have the tweet that he put out on day one saying he can't wait to get back. So not really sure what is holding him back. If there's, not really sure. But it sounds like, if you kind of listen to what some of these guys are saying, it sounds like they don't expect him to be gone. They expect him to be there very shortly. Mark Andrews, I think, says wherever he is, he's working, and they're confident in that, and that they're working and they'll be ready for him when he gets there. But it sounds like the expectation is that he's not too far from joining his team here in Owens Mills.
Yeah, I don't think there's a valid excuse for him not being there.
Yeah, I mean, however, I guess we don't know what the excuse is, but and we don't want to just make up, what would be a good excuse. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that whatever work he's doing, that he couldn't be doing better work here with the Ravens.
And you mentioned that yesterday, and then Marlon Humphrey, who obviously watches the show, said the same thing almost verbatim yesterday, right? Yeah, or today, excuse me. He said, look, there's no better work that you can get than being with the guys you're going to be on the field with, being with the training staff, the coaching staff, the entire Ravens faculty. And I also like that he said, I'm here because they pay me a good bit of money, so I might as well show up.
Yeah.
So
he ain't wrong.
No, he's not wrong. However, so I think it's important.
It's not a huge deal, but it's a deal.
Right. But the one thing as well is I think the closer it gets to mandatory, the more and more big of a deal it becomes. But I would like to know, I don't know offhand, what the percentage is of quarterbacks that show up day one of voluntary OTAs.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting study.
That's the one position, because it's expected that if you're a seasoned veteran, that you could skip these kinds of things and still, not draw the dirty look from the coach. But the quarterback seemed like the position that was that's the one where even if you are a veteran, we still kind of hope and expect you to be there. And especially with all the, we talked about it in the video. He's got a new center. He's got a new number one receiver. He's got a bunch of young guys at receiver. He's got 2 young new tight ends. So there's certainly reason why we would have liked for him to be there, but it's not obviously a huge deal. It's just it's a small tiny little deal.
Yeah. And that's what we'll hope. Certainly though, every day it becomes more and more of a deal.
But Lamar Jackson was not the only absence from practice. So let's just go over some of the other
Yeah,
names.
18 in total, right? Is that the number you have?
Yeah, 18 in total. And obviously, so that's kind of where we're going to start, who was there, who wasn't. And then we got a bunch of notes that we're going to get out to you guys of all the different things that came out of practice. But as far as guys who weren't there, some non-surprises, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards were obviously not there, still coming back from the injury. David Ajabo, same goes for him, still recovering. And Marcus Peters, Tyus Bowser. I think they're all kind of in that same camp of guys that we expected to not see because of the recovery from injury. But some names that kind of surprised me, Jimbo, and I want to get your take on these guys. And the first of which is, Marcus Williams got an awful lot of money to come here and play safety for the Baltimore Ravens, coming over from New Orleans. He's new to the team. The team has a new defensive coordinator, and he is very, very highly paid by his new team. How surprised were you to see that Marcus Williams wasn't at camp today?
Yeah, that was probably, other than, I don't know if I was surprised by Lamar. That was probably my biggest surprise, being that, and I hold guys that are youths to a higher standard, just what it is as far as being a teammate. Certainly it's something that's highly valued there. And I think it would make a lot of sense for him to be there. Like you said, new team, new contract, new coaches, new scheme, new city, new media members to endear himself to. So yeah, I'm surprised. However, I know everyone has their own routines and everyone has their own thing, but I'll tell you who wasn't missing.
Who's that?
Oh, Chucky Clark.
That's right. Who's been here longer.
Yeah. He's a vet. He's on the trading block, and Chuck just does all things right. Now, this is not a knock on Marcus. I'm just saying that I was surprised. I don't know if I'm disappointed, but certainly surprised.
I'm disappointed.
Disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. He was the crown jewel of free agency. They paid him an absolute boatload of money. And like Marlon said, look, Marlon's own words, as least I could do is show up for a few practices.
Yeah.
So I kind of lean towards the camp of how Marlon is treating it. And a little disappointed. Some other names I want to get your take on, though, Jimbo, not just Marcus Williams. Jalen Ferguson, also. Snacks Ferguson did not show up today in a big year for him, a year where there's no doubt they could use the extra bodies at the outside linebacker position when you consider Adafe Owe, who was there, by the way, although he was doing some individual stuff coming off the shoulder surgery. With him, still not participating in team activities, with Ajabo still out, with Bowser still out, you'd think that Snacks would have looked at this and said, wow, what an opportunity I have to get the lion's share of reps and maybe start making an impact on my new defensive coaches. There's a lot of new guys on the defensive side of the ball who haven't seen Jalen up close and personal, and this was his first opportunity to make a good impression, and he didn't show up.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
No.
And I'm not even disappointed, because much more disappointed can I be in Jalen Ferguson at this point? I'm just numb to it all right now. I think it speaks to, like you said, look, Marcus Williams is one thing, but he's already got his contract, right?
He's already proven it in the league.
Right. Yeah, Jalen Ferguson has a lot to go, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the last year of his deal.
I believe you're right, yes.
So, dude, you got to make every effort, every moment count. You're coming up to the end of your rope, and this is what you're doing. He might have just been late. Maybe he was late when the folks were taking notes. He could have still been at the McDonald's drive-thru like third time around or something. I don't know.
Oh my.
I don't know what it is, man.
Third time around.
I don't know, just third loop around. Oh, goodness. No, I don't really know. I'm just giving Jalen a hard time, but
But surprised to see him not there. Yeah, a little surprised, and then a couple other names just so to round it off. Nick Boyle. Jawan James, kind of a surpriser there with Jawan James. Figure he could use all the reps he could get. Morgan Moses, another newcomer. I would have liked to seen him there, but not to the degree of Marcus Williams. And then Kyle Fuller, he may still be going through some, not sure with the contract.
Things like that.
He's probably trying to get his family here. He's probably got a lot going on. So I'll give him a pass. But the final name that really, Michael Pierce wasn't here. I'd like to see him here, but that doesn't shock me. Calais Campbell, I'm fine with that. Derek Wolfe. Like seeing Derek Wolfe carrying a bear on his back, Jim. I don't know if you saw that. Well, I'm not a fan of the bear, but the fact that he's
saying, But like, why? Why are you carrying a 300-pound bear? You just had back surgery. Like,
Yeah, I guess that's true. But that must mean he's awfully confident in that back.
yeah,
You
but that
know?
means get out on the practice field.
Yeah, I would like
I
to
don't
see
know.
him,
I
but
know
that
that
at least
sometimes
leads to show me he might be healthy.
you're right, and sometimes I feel like I get in this mode where like I don't know. It's easy for me to sit here and say how I would do things,
Yeah.
right? But I can also say I would only do things the way that I do things in my job. If I gotta travel somewhere, I get there early. I stay there as long as I can. I take the best use of my time. Like I try and be thorough. Like my job is my livelihood. Like I'm not gonna see it any other way. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like I would be there because what do you have to lose?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
think
guess he would have lost out on that bear, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I would like to see him here as well, but I'm encouraged by the fact that if he's carrying a bear, I assume that means his back is at full strength.
yeah,
Or he wouldn't have a
yeah,
bear on his back. But the last one that was surprising is Iman Marshall, another notable absence. I mean, some Ravens fans may not even know who this guy is, but this was the
seriously,
year with all the changes at the cornerback position and the guys coming back from injury. This was the year where he really had an opportunity. Now, it could be that we just aren't aware that this is injury related, but it's not being told to us that way. But anyway, let's get off of who isn't there, who was there. Let's start getting
yeah.
into what actually happened on the field,
Yeah,
Jimbo.
good call because I could go down a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, we could continue to bag on players that we expected to be there and aren't, but let's move on. So, Jimbo, what
And
are
you know
some
what,
of the
Glenn? That is one of my goals for this season.
what's that?
I'm just gonna try and be nicer.
Be
Gonna be
nicer?
real.
Okay. All
I'm gonna
right.
try and be nicer,
We could do that.
less critical.
We'll try. Let's do
You
it.
know, as I feel like you're already just you're pretty dang nice.
You think I am? Well, I did just
Yeah,
call him Snacks Ferguson,
that's
which wasn't the nicest thing.
that's true. That's true.
But I tend to be you're a little more emotional, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, like you said, let's get into the storylines that of the guys that were there. Should we start with the rookies?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, not much of a storyline because like people said, like Glenn, you said, and like people say, hard to judge the offensive lineman before they put pads on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I did want to say that Linderbaum looks quick.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's got good feet. He looks quick. I mean, we can't really judge his strength so far because he also doesn't look big.
No, he looks small.
Looks pretty small, but he looks quick. He looks in command. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Falele is an absolute monster.
Yes.
We talked about this, but it's incredible how much better he carries more weight than Orlando Brown.
He doesn't look fat at all, and he's pushing 400. And the way he can bend. I mean, everything coming out out of camp is that people are encouraged by what they're seeing from a guy who slipped big time in the draft, but has all the physical traits that any offensive line coach would just be drooling over with his arm length, his size. His ability to bend at that size. And, it's impressive to see, what he can do at his size.
Yeah, absolutely. What other things stood out to you?
Yeah, this was a big one. As far as rookies, kind of staying on that same line is, Jordan Stout has a lot of pressure on his shoulders coming into this season with really no backup plan unless they want to beg Sam Cook to come out of retirement after that emotional send-off that he got. There's really no backup plan to Jordan Stout. And so what's really cool is that all the early, rumblings coming out is that the guy has just been absolutely impressive. He's got a huge leg, and Harbaugh was asked about him and he said even his misses were going far. So he has good misses like that. That's a good thing to have. And then of course, the maybe the most important thing of it all, the operation with Justin Tucker and the kicking unit, he was flawless in his catching and holding of the football for Justin Tucker and his field goal. So all indications are that that Stout's going to be a heck of a replacement for Sam Cook, who was of course there as a punting and kicking consultant. So Sam won't be too far, but ultimately it'll be up to Jordan once he's in between the white lines.
Yeah, and I can't understate. I know that everyone will talk about it's a punter, it's not sex fishing, this, that, and the other, but look, games are won and lost a lot of times in special teams, 1 point, 3 point games, things like that. So yeah, this is huge for us. The other thing I want to talk about is Mark Andrews' compliments of the young tight ends.
Yeah.
He's really excited about this group, what they can do, and how well they're going to be able to play. He said that he feels like they're light years ahead of what he was as a rookie. Now, he might be a little humble, but I think that's really impressive, man. He said the way they carry themselves and their confidence is really impressive. What are your thoughts on? And one of the other things somebody asked him was how confident he is that they can return to 2019 type tight end room.
Yeah.
This could be crazy, but there's a potential that they could be a step better. There's potential for that, just because I think they're deeper. While the three-headed monster was good, if they get something equivalent to Hayden Hurst production, Mark Andrews is better than he was in 2019, and Nick Boyle comes back, then you add a fourth guy to that who's, who knows, what I mean? So I think that with the depth, the quality and the depth together, they have a potential to be even better. What do you think about the comments on those rookies that he made?
100%. I agree with you, Jimbo, because that fourth guy in 2019, I think, is going to be superior in talent. I mean, inferior in talent to the likely fourth guy, whether it's Kohler or Likely. I think both of those guys are going to have big rookie seasons for the Ravens. And yeah, Andrews was heaping praise on these guys. I mean, saying that their understanding of the offense is impressive, how far ahead, like you mentioned, that they are than where he was when he came in. And even furthermore, the reports coming out that they were doing a fantastic job catching the ball in traffic. They were grabbing the ball, snatching out of the air, which, sometimes when you're a rookie out there and especially when it's your first introduction to some veterans on the team, some guys you used to watch on TV and in some cases root for or try and emulate your game over or after, I should say. And so when they're there, sometimes you get a little bit nervous, right? You get a little, she starts short arming balls, especially if they're over the middle or in traffic. All reports are that the guys look good. And also it was encouraging to hear Andrews touched on Nick Boyle and saying that he worked out with him in Arizona and that he looks like a totally different person than what he did last year. So if they can get something back, if they can get Nick Boyle back to somewhere what he used to be, even if it's an 85, 90% of what he was at his best, and then you bring these two young guys into the mix, and of course the best tight end in football, Mark Andrews. You're right, Jimbo. They could have the best room in football and even a better room than they had in 2019 when their offense was historic.
Look out, dude. Look out. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, Glenn, was Kyle Hamilton and all the praise that he's getting. Mark talked about that a little bit. Coach talked about that a little bit. But, I've heard – so these are the things I've heard from the media – not from the media, from the media availability today. Smooth, smart, quick, long, athletic. I mean, all the things. It sounds like he's living up to the hype. John said also, though, and I think this is perfect coach speak, he said, look good. Not perfect. Not perfect.
Yeah.
But he looked good. I'm really excited to see what Kyle Hamilton can do. And I also got excited when they talked about all of the flexibility and within the scheme that these guys have. I know Marlon kind of touched on that, between being able to play any position in the defensive backfield. But, what was your take on people talking about Kyle Hamilton? He obviously wasn't talked about as much as Lamar Jackson, but what's your take so far on what you've heard and the little snippets you've seen?
Yeah, first of all, he looks smooth. The little clips I've seen, the guy just looks like a smooth, big, strong athlete. And all accounts are that he's extremely intelligent as well. So, yeah, happy to hear it. Apparently the one-on-one drills is really where he made a lot of people, impressed a lot of people when he had two very nice pass breakups, one on Charlie Kohler and one on Isaiah Likely, both of which you had fantastic days. And he was able to not just force an incompletion, but he had the pass breakup. So his hands were physically on the ball, forcing the incompletion on both plays in the one-on-ones. Because I think that's an area where, he's going to be the guy that goes out and shuts down the tight ends. There's so many big, strong, fast tight ends in the AFC that he's going to have an opportunity to hopefully minimize their damage on the Ravens defense. So I'm excited about what this guy brings, especially when you think about what all three of those safeties can kind of do together and complement each other and be multiple. It's kind of interesting when Marlon was talking about it, he said basically the direction of this new defense is that anybody can be anywhere and play anywhere at any time. And that's the deception that they're trying to cause. So, just like Marlon said, he was inside, he was outside. The same will be said with Kyle Hamilton. This guy is going to
all
be
over.
He's going to be all over. So you're not going to know pre-snap what guy is doing what, because as soon as that ball snapped, everything could change. I mean, the deception that these guys are going to be able to create with that positionless players that they have on defense, I think is going to be special.
100%. And, it's so interesting because my 2 cents, I'm sure that the one-on-one is also where he feels extremely comfortable, while that's extremely challenging. But, you lean on, we've talked about this before, when you're a multi-sport athlete, you lean on what comes most natural to you. And man, if you can guard someone one-on-one in a basketball scenario where you can hardly whisper in someone's ear without getting fouled, right? Football is, while, you still have rules to keep, it's in a lot of ways got to be a bit easier than trying to keep somebody, on your hip in the open court. So I'm excited for this kid and can't wait. It's almost like when the tight end, that's an incredible athlete from a basketball standpoint, comes in to play tight end. We've seen how successful that's been in the NFL. I feel like it's the other end of that, and I think he'll be just as successful as those guys offensively that we're talking about. So it's going to be really interesting. What else you got for me, Glenn? I got a couple of things on my mind. What else you thinking?
Yeah, I got to talk cornerback. The big thing was, I think Marlon Humphrey being out there for one and participating as often and as much as he did was kind of a surprise, considering he's already an established All-Pro in this league, and is coming off of the pec. I think it was a pec injury, but he didn't take any plays off. He played a ton of reps. He looked good out there, looked smooth, looked like he was having a good time, and that was always encouraging. But he wasn't the only corner out there that was kind of turning heads. Maybe a surprise, heading into this year is Kevon Seymour, who is a guy who I think is kind of, he's a guy that I don't think a lot of people are betting on him to make the roster. Put it that way.
Yeah, the only memory I have of Kevon Seymour was that preseason game. Remember, he got hurt and the guy kept pushing him on the ground, and he was already hurt.
Wasn't that on the opening kickoff?
Yeah, it was something.
The Saints game, I believe.
It was infuriating for him. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I felt bad for him too. I think it was literally on the first kickoff. But he had himself a day. Apparently, he had the best day of any player in the secondary, knocked down several passes, and had an interception, which most believe would have been a pick six if the play would have been, played out to completion.
Sure.
But also, Jimbo, I want your thoughts on this. Big news coming out of the cornerback room was Brandon Stevens is now going to be considered, as John Harbaugh put it, a cornerback first and a safety second, not the other way around like he was last season. So what's your thoughts on Brandon Stevens? Now, he said he'll still do some safety activity. He'll still do some safety stuff, but it looks like he's going to be moved to primarily be a cornerback who plays both inside and outside.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I'm really interested to see what happens to Brandon Stevens, because I think he's got a ton of potential as a player. I think he's just a good football player. And honestly, I think what they're trying to do is figure out how to get the most value out of him. I don't know if they have a clear plan yet. They might say they do, but things have got to kind of shake out, right? So I could see all of that go to the wind, be tossed to the wayside if something happens. But either way, the kid's versatility is impressive. And let's not forget, he only played 1 year as a defensive back in college. And so he's still rounding himself out as a player, but it speaks to his versatility, his value, his athleticism, his adaptability as a player. And who knows, maybe we get more out of him, since corner was his position. I want to say natural because he was a natural running back, but maybe we get more out of him because his position that he played in college was a corner. So I think that honestly, and Marlon kind of talked about this, the Ravens want turnovers on turnovers on turnovers on turnovers. Say what you want about Brandon Stevens, but he got his hands on the ball in college. Now, he wasn't turning over like crazy, but he had a ton of pass breakups, getting his team opportunities to catch deflections and things like that. So I think that's a huge focus for this year, and might be another reason why they're wanting to play him more at corner. Outside of the fact that we now have, a ridiculous safety.
Got a few safeties. Funny because Tony Jefferson kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But
what's he thinking?
But it's like, how does Brandon Stevens get on the field? And I think the only way is through playing cornerback, because there's not going to be a ton of reps for him unless there's an injury at one of those top three guys, and maybe even four guys with Tony Jefferson in the group. Excited to hear if he can make himself into a guy that they could comfortably put in the slot, and even also put him on the outside if need be. And that makes that another guy positionless on the defense that you don't know where he's going to be once that ball snapped, what his responsibilities will be. And it just leads to that deception that we always talk about. So yeah, the cornerbacks are looking good. The safeties are looking good. Now let's get into somebody who struggled a bit today, Jimbo. And this might make a few Ravens fans a little bit disappointed. Rashod Bateman, who is of course expected to take over as the new number 1 wide receiver after the Marquise Brown trade. He had a bit of a tough day today. He had several drop passes. He dropped a potential touchdown pass that hit him right in his hands. Any concern about a bit of he also struggled getting off the line. He slipped on a one-on-one against Marlin, and the pass fell incomplete. Any concerns at all with the early reports of Bateman struggling at camp?
I'm trying not to hit the panic button. It's like day 2, right? But I have to, I mean, how do I answer this? I'm not concerned yet. If it continues, I will be concerned. But I have written it down.
Okay.
And I will be watching.
So this is a note for later. Okay.
Yeah, I that's how I'll withhold judgment for now. I'm not crazy concerned at this point. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not, crazy concerned, but would I've liked to hear reports in the opposite end of the spectrum that he was out there just catching everything his way. Kind of like what we heard from Mark Andrews, the reports we heard from Mark Andrews.
Yeah, what else is new?
Yeah, it comes as no surprise that every single ball thrown his way was caught. Yeah, I would have liked to hear it, that direction, but obviously this isn't a time where you start to worry at all when you're talking OTAs. But yeah, let's hope that more reports come out saying the contrary, that he was catching everything, and that he looks, he looks like a true number 1, because the Ravens are going to lean on him. I mean, it's pretty clear when you look at the target share of the last couple years that the tight end Mark Andrews gets a ton, and then one receiver gets a ton, and then the rest of the targets are kind of divvied up equally for the rest of the guys to pick up. But there's definitely 2 main guys that are going to get the targets. One of them's Mark Andrews, and I think they hope the other one is Bateman. But we'll wait and see if how it all plays out. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that kind of jumped out at you, Jimbo, from today, or anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think that obviously we talked about this before, but coach's response to Lamar's thing, putting it on his shoulders to answer the question, and to deal with the media, I think it was really smart and interesting. So he played the politics really well there, which is what John's good at. And so I think that's noteworthy.
When do you get worried, Jimbo? What's the date? Like, are you fine with him skipping all 3 of the OTAs?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with it now because, I mean, I think that's just going to be the reality. Maybe I've just come to the grips with reality. You're talking about 3 days, right? Not the 3 sessions?
No, I'm talking about the 3 sessions.
Oh, yeah. I'm
okay.
Left. I'm talking about this little 3 days. I'm okay with him skipping this. But the next one and on, not cool with it. Not
so
cool
you want
with it.
him at the next 2?
Well, look, dude, if you're going to stand up on a podium and talk about, look, from day 1, what has Lamar said? You're going to get a Super Bowl out of me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Lamar, you've made me a promise as a Ravens fan. I have a lot of emotions invested in this, okay? I want that Super Bowl. And so to me, like, it's always been this way as an athlete, right? Like, when you're not working, who is?
Yeah. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. That's what they say.
So, and not that he's not out there working, but it appears that way to us because he's not out there with the team. So all we can do is see his little snippets on YouTube or on like Instagram or Twitter or whatever. It's not the same as being out there with the team. So, I want Lamar out there yesterday, and hoping that he is there. So I'll give him a pass on this one, but that's all I got as far as giving him a pass.
Yeah, well, we'll know. It's not a long time for the next one. Their next OTA is May 31st, which is just a few days away. It's next week. And then there's the final OTA is June 7th to 10th. And then, of course, mandatory minicamp, which we all expect everyone to be there, will be June 14th. So be on the lookout. But yeah, I think, it was a successful first 3 days of minicamp. Guys are getting to know each other. Coaches are getting to know each other, getting to know their players. And yeah, exciting. Let's just say this. I think we can both, and everyone can agree on this. Let's just come out of this thing healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Amen to that.
You know,
Yeah, let's get out there healthy. Let's get the things. Let's eat right. Let's sleep right. Let's not have any foolish things off the field happen in the off season, and let's just get to training camp healthy.
that's it. But let us know what you guys think. Is there anything we missed touching on that you've heard coming out of the first 3-day OTAs? I guess it's only the first two because tomorrow will be the third day. But let us know what you guys think. Everything in the comments below, and we will talk soon.
And we'll be live tomorrow. Join us.
Live tomorrow from roughly 8 to 9, 9:30.
Yeah, something
Something
like
like that. But yeah, see y'all tomorrow.